It's taken a couple of years. In '96, I was introduced to someone who had found asking it is given. And in August, I came to the first of the seminars that I've been to. I went on the cruise last year. And each time that I come to see you, I get a little bit closer to the vortex. And things are going better and better, but there's still some areas that...
Well, we don't want to make this vortex sound like a prize or like a hard thing. In other words, we want it to just be this expression of who you really are that you have easy access to. Mm-hmm. In other words, can you imagine what people are hearing who are hearing you could be thinking, oh, being in the vortex must be, getting into the hot seat must be a really hard thing. And we say, it isn't. It's just a matter of being clear about what you want and being in the vicinity. The reason that we choose you as we do is because if you have a question that's queued up that's strong and you're in the vicinity, then we know we can have a meaningful conversation. Sometimes your question is so meaningful that we know we'll have a meaningful conversation with you, and your cell phone will download the message to you tomorrow or the next day while others in the room are getting it now. So all is well. You've been in and out of the vortex like most people a great deal. We're just putting a different context to it. In other words, sometimes we talk about being disconnected. That's too strong of a word. You can never be disconnected. We just want you to have deliberate, conscious control of your vibrational relationship. Yes. So, what do you want to talk about?
I've spent years studying in what I call the building dedicated to obfuscation, otherwise known as a law library, what's going on in the world in a larger context. And as a result of that, I found out that a lot of things that we believe are not actually what is true either in man's law or God's law or the universal law for that matter.
And there are so many flawed premises that we could write enough books to fill the equivalent number of libraries with the flawed premises. And the reason that human, comes to so many flawed premises is because instead of understanding the vibrational basis and the relationship between these two vibrational aspects of your being, instead of tending to the vibrational root or cause of things, most humans are looking at the results of that vibrational mix. We say to doctors and scientists, when you get to the vibrational root, instead of looking for a cure, you'll really have something. But what most are doing is looking at the results that have manifested, and then they sort those manifestations into piles, and then they try to make sense of all of those piles, and they try to understand the relationship between those manifestations, when it would have been so much easier for them to just understand this one simple relationship between you and you. Really an interesting thing. Mm-hmm. Every now and again, Esther likes to watch some of the political programs, and as she watches them, she feels worse and worse every time.
I understand.
And then she'll ponder them and want to talk with us about it. And we say to her over and over again, there is this bigger law that is managing all things. And that's why we don't worry about what's going on with so many who are outside the vortex. It's not fair to say that everyone involved in politics or everyone involved in law is outside the vortex, but it's mostly true. So it's a whole segment of population outside the vortex, setting up ways of engaging one another. It's just sort of banging around and in sort of mediocrity in terms of their ability to accomplish, where if they would just let go of all of that pushing against and get into the vortex, they would feel so much better. But all of that banging around with each other, you know what it is? It's step one experiences. Mm-hmm. All of that banging around with each other is what's filling this vortex with future benefit. And so you got to love them for their willingness to bang around out there and put so much in the vortex. But then you just got to decide, you want to bang around out there, you want to get in the vortex. It's the way we would look at it if we were standing in your physical shoes.
Many times, a couple of times, though, when I tried to make a jump from the lower end of the vibrational scale where I spent many years down in anger, frustration, overwhelmment. And
Anger, frustration, overwhelmment. There's a big vibrational difference between anger and frustration and overwhelmment.
yes, but I spent so many years there that I finally just got to the point where I didn't really want to be. I would have preferred at that point to have croaked.
Well, but you know why? Because in all of that effort of trying to sort it all out, even if you sort through it and you figure it out, then trying to convince somebody else.
Yes.
That takes more life than you have in this life. In other words, to get others to come to agree with you. And so what happened to you in all of that is you came to a rational conclusion as a result of. Now, this ties in with something really important, because we play about getting into the vortex, and we chose you because you so wanted to get into the hot seat, and you immediately made the association to being in the hot seat and getting into the vortex, and we think that it's a fair comparison. But what we want you to hear in all of this is that as you bang around in contrast and in outside the vortex experience, step one experience, in all of it, you're putting more in to the vortex. You're asking and asking and asking, which means this is calling you and calling you and calling you and calling you in a stronger way. And the stronger this calls, the more uncomfortable the resistance is, so that even though resistance may be getting slighter, the sensation still feels strong because it's calling you in a stronger way. Does that make sense to you? And then something often happens. You come to a sort of epiphany, and we love it when this happens, because the message that we want to set forth here in this gathering today in a way that everyone can hear it and begin to really feel it in the way we mean it, we think you came to on your own. It's the awareness that I'm going to give up my effort at controlling the uncontrollable. And when you come to the awareness that it's all uncontrollable, all that stuff, what everybody else thinks, what they do, the laws they make, the laws they break, the laws they keep, the laws they enforce, all of that, it is such a scrambled, endless. You can't sort it out. You can't get them to agree. It will fall and is falling of its economic weight, you see. So what happens is, it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing, because finally you come to this place, and you are coming to it globally, where you say, I give up. I'm no longer going to try to control the uncontrollable. And when you discover what you can control, which is your perception, what you can control is what you focus upon. What you can control is the way you feel. What you can control is your vibrational relationship with this stream, with this vortex. Then what happens to you is you come to an awareness that all of that struggle caused you to expand, and now you've given up your struggle. Now you are able to take your expansion, receive your expansion, you see. We just love it when life helps you recognize the uncontrollable nature of things. Because you are not a doer, you are a beer. You are an offerer of vibration, you see. Now, that doesn't mean that we want you to stop having activity. Activity is delicious. We just want your emphasis to be upon your vibrational countenance. And if your emphasis is upon your vibrational countenance, now you're in the vortex, and now law of attraction is arranging action and activities that are blissful and delightful in nature, you see. Most action that you offer outside the vortex is hard work. It's struggle. It takes a lot of effort because you're bucking your own current. It takes all you can do just to maintain your status quo, you see. But when you let go of that struggle and you let the vortex have its way with you, haven't you ever wondered how some people achieve so much in the same 24 hours? and some people achieve so little in the same 24 hours. You've got to know that there's a leverage that some are engaging and others aren't. And we'll tell you what it is. It's a vibrational leverage. When you're in the vortex, you have the energy that creates worlds at your fingertips that you're flowing, you see.